charge, Mr. Red.
All right, please be seated. Members of the jury, I understand you have a verdict.
Verdict reached in trial of Gary Chauvin.
Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1. Court File Number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury foreperson 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 19, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 89, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Are these your verdicts, so say you one, so say you all?
Yes. Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota for not only jury service, but heavy-duty jury service. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to follow the deputy back into your usual room, and I will join you in a few minutes to answer questions and to advise you further. So, all rise for the jury. All right, be seated. With the guilty verdicts returned, we're going to have Blakely, you may file a written argument as to Blakely factors within 1 week. The court will issue findings on the Blakely factors, the factual findings, 1 week after that. We'll order a PSI immediately returnable in 4 weeks. And we will also have a briefing on, after you get the PSI, 6 weeks from now, and then 8 weeks from now, we will have sentencing. We'll get you the exact dates.
It's going to take 2 months for the sentence, but it's a good day.
Order. Is there a motion on behalf of the state?
Your Honor, the state would move to have the court revoke the defendant's bail and remand him into custody pending sentencing.
Bail is revoked, bond is discharged, and the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Hennepin County Sheriff. Anything further?
So
you.
big.
So there you have it. The jury in Hennepin County, in Minneapolis.
Don't drop the soap there, Chauvin.
All 3 counts.
Enjoy curiosity. God, you got revoked.
Third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. Guilty in all 3. You can see him being
Fuck
led away
yeah.
there in the courtroom. He had been out on bail.
Well, I knew he was
The state
found guilty of
requested
third count, but
judge
the dumb
that
dumb
bail be
barking,
revoked,
but I knew he found
and that he
guilty.
be taken
so.
into custody, which is
So
exactly
count
what the
one
judge
guilty,
decided
count
to do.
two
You can
guilty,
see
count
the
three
counts
guilty.
up on
Second
your
degree
screen
murder,
right
intentional
now.
killing
The jury
while committing a
deliberated
felony,
yesterday
perpetrating
afternoon,
and
then
eventually a
began
dangerous
deliberating
act
again
of
early
condition
this
to
morning,
depraved
but it
mind,
was a
culpable
short period of
negligence, creating a
time
reasonable regret.
before we
Bam!
learned
Guilty on
that
all
they
three
had come
counts.
to a unanimous conclusion. Clearly, they thought that the case made by the prosecution and perhaps that final closing argument, that rebuttal from Jerry
So he was charged
Blackwell,
all
he
three.
said to the jury,
Yeah.
it's as simple
Murder
as what
two,
that
murder
9-year-old
three,
girl,
man
one of the
two.
bystanders said that she heard the paramedics say when they arrived there more than 9 minutes after
And
that
you
he
heard
was
it.
put to George
And you heard one of
Floyd's
the
neck.
paramedics that
She
testified
said
that she
heard
wanted to
paramedics
give
say,
the
"Get off of him."
CPR to Derek, and
Of course,
they
in the
won't
hours
allow
and
him.
days to come,
And she got
we'll learn
emotional
more
about
from
that.
jury, what they were thinking over the course of this 3-week trial. But we wanted to look at the reaction coming in from Minneapolis. This was the scene in South Minneapolis just moments ago. They had described the sound of people gathering there, obviously erupting. Embracing one another, and in many ways for that community and for the people who have gathered there, it has been an extraordinarily long year in this country. This was the scene again, George Floyd Square. This is reaction from the families, George Floyd's family, with their legal team, Ben Crump, we know, leading that team, clearly overjoyed. They believe justice has been served in this case. Derek Chauvin found guilty on all counts. And I want to bring in our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams, as we look at these images. Clearly, the pause there is in between each count as the judge was reading from that piece of paper delivered to him by the foreperson of the jury. And in Dan, guilty on all counts. They believe the prosecution made its case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yep, on each and every charge. And remember that there are slightly different theories with regard to second-degree murder and third-degree murder. I mean, there was a possibility that he could be found guilty of second-degree murder, not of third-degree murder, and then guilty of second-degree manslaughter. That didn't happen. This was a prosecution clean sweep here, and now Derek Chauvin will be sentenced on the highest charge, which is second-degree murder. Faces up to 40 years. The sentencing guidelines in Michigan suggest more likely 10 to 15 years, but I'll tell you, David, you mentioned that 9-year-old girl, and she could be relevant in the context of sentencing because prosecutors can ask for what's called an enhancement in the sentencing, meaning to go beyond
Like
what
10,
the
15 years
guidelines
sound like
would
what happened to Roy
suggest
Oliver.
because
Yeah,
a
he only
child
got
was
15 years.
present.
Amber Geiger
So
only got 10
that
years.
9-year-old girl was not just an emotional witness, but she could become a very important witness with regard to the potential sentence that Derek Chauvin gets. You heard him, the judge, then referring to the Blakely standard, and that means basically start preparing for the argument over sentencing. And that will be the next phase of this case to determine what the sentence for Derek Chauvin will be. But at this point, certainly a big win for the prosecution in this case, getting everything that they asked this jury for.
Just to drill down on that point, Dan, as per Minnesota state law, the jury will decide, the judge will decide sentencing on the highest of the charges, which of course is unintentional second-degree murder.
The
presumed sentence is usually 10 to 15 years, but he faces up to 40 years.
Blue lives murder. Blue lives murder.
The state
Blue
will ask for
lives
what's called
murder.
an aggravated sentence here, and he could face decades behind bars.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Longer than 15 years, like we're all over Amber Geiger.
Really, the next big debate in this case over exactly what should be the sentence for Derek Chauvin. Again, as we talked about when the jury reached its verdict and we said they came back so quickly, this is not good news for Derek Chauvin. Again, on the sentencing side, I wouldn't want to be Derek Chauvin either, meaning that, typically,
Especially if his bail just got revoked, he's going to spend the next 8 weeks behind bars to find out what his sentencing is going to be.
Second-degree murder or third-degree murder.
Not a good look for him for Derek Chauvin.
Up to 15 years.
And that's what I say, don't drop the soul bone, boy.
Based on a number of factors.
Enjoy 3 hours of cop for 2 months.
Ask for more time, and the judge will have to determine that. And David, I want to just add one other quick point, which is about the diversity of this jury. And I think it's important because we often talk about diversity and it sounds like a concept, as opposed to something that can actually instill a sense of confidence.
Let us roll for about 4 more minutes, and then I'm going to end this.
That there were 4 people who were
I gotta go trim the bushes out in the front yard.
2 who described themselves as multiracial, 6 whites, and they all came together and very quickly agreed on this verdict. This was a jury of peers, and as a result, I think that's helpful in instilling confidence in the verdict.
No justice, no peace. Fuck the police. No justice, no peace. Fuck the police.
In that community, and you yourself said as a
Blue lives murder. Blue lives murder.
and this quickly that even you had thought there would be at least questions from perhaps the jurors for the judge, and there was not. Unanimous, guilty on all charges.
David, I've been a lawyer for 27 years, and I remember when I was in law school during my first year, the Rodney King verdict came out, and it was
That was almost 30 years ago.
Who, on video, beat and stomped and tased beat a man 56 times with a baton, and I believed my eyes then. So I believed my eyes this time.
And a lot of people in the one-in community will sit there and say that's how the cop watch started as well, too. People going and filming the cops, holding bad cops accountable was the Rodney King.
Even though all of my training told me that they likely convicted on at least the highest count or at least the lowest count, because of the history in this
I bet you 10-1. I bet the Discord flunkies up in the Bank of D server, the popular kitty server, they're saying, oh, this is a bad day for the cops and the blue lives, blah, blah, blah. Fuck off. Justice is served, bitches.
They rate 5 times more than their white counterparts, because I am the mother of an 18-year-old.
I know it's going up there right now. Justice for George Floyd, justice served.
And I feel that he is safer in South Africa than he is in his own country. I am so relieved that this is what justice finally looks like for my community. And while I know that this does not bring George Floyd back to his family, to his loved ones, to his brother who we've heard from so eloquently, at least I believe now that the movement that we've seen since his murder on video for the world to see is not just a moment. I really believe that this is a movement that we've seen. And for that,
No justice,
I am
no peace. Fuck the police.
very thankful that perhaps
Fuck the police.
we will see real change, much needed change in this country.
Sonny Austin, with some very personal reflections on our coverage this afternoon and the guilty verdict from the jury in Minneapolis. Sonny, thank you. And when you couple what Sonny said and her observations along with what Dan Abrams said just moments before her, that perhaps this could be a unifying moment when you think about the jury and the diversity, the makeup of that jury. 6 white jurors.
I was just sit there saying, remember, ladies and
6
gentlemen,
people of color, 4
blue
black
lives
jurors, and 2 that
murder.
self-identify
Blue
as
lives
multiracial.
murder.
That they all deliberated together, and in just a short period of time, were united.
Oh, you put a question mark
What
with it,
they
but still,
saw
no
when
justice
they watched
served.
those 9 minutes, and what they heard over the course of 3 weeks inside that Minneapolis courtroom. You can see they have begun to put up signs in Minneapolis. That's the scene from South Minneapolis. Justice served is what that sign says underneath George Floyd's name now. They've now put that up on the sign, and my colleague Lindsay Davis is in Minneapolis. And Lindsay,
Beef, fuck the police.
David, you know, there was a novel by Terry McMillan, subsequently a movie called Waiting to Exhale. Today it was so much more than that. That was All of Us. And just a little while ago, I was telling you about how the streets here were empty. You hardly saw any people or cars.
Well, that's going to wrap it on this show. I'm out of here. Mike Chop. Peace out.